Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mr. Arsenal podcast, or actual Arsenal content for the first time in a few weeks. We've got something to talk about Arsenal related. Woohoo! No, yay. And it's actually the new 2021 Premier League fixtures have been released 9 o'clock this morning, and yeah, the new season's upon us. Not long after the previous season's just bloody finished. Why I couldn't wait a bit longer, I don't know. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, Richard's here to go through me. We have a back and forth and react to the fixtures month by month. Daniel, the blind gunner, is on his way. But when he comes in backstage, I'll put him into the screen. So yeah, new season ahead. A few weeks away now, makes it all a bit more real, a bit more excitement. Fulham away. Newly promoted Fulham. Would have been a good away ground to go to.
Yeah, like a few, but
no one can go.
No, I mean it's a good start to the season in the sense that it's a winnable game, isn't it? Potentially. I mean, I know sometimes promoted teams come up and start well, don't they? But I'd be reasonably confident of. In fact, the first home game as well, West Ham the week after. That's not a bad start, is it? In actual fact, on paper, I know it doesn't always work like that. But I'm reasonably happy with that. I mean, the biggest issue is, like you said, Fulham's a great away game, isn't it? Getting the boat along the Thames and all that kind of stuff, brilliant away day. We can't go. There's a lot of decent away games early in the season as well that we've got, which again, we can't go to. So I'm more upset about that really than anything else, I think, because I like the fixtures coming out because it's a good way to look at plan your next 9 months of your life, what games you go into, when you go into the games, all that kind of stuff. To me, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I know Sky will end up moving them all to Monday nights and stuff like they did last year.
Possible, especially with Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. But, potentially you could at least think, right, okay, that weekend I'll be going there. We're going to Leeds this weekend and all that kind of stuff. So you know what you're doing. And obviously this year it's like, well, you look at the fixtures and you think, well, what's the point of them? What is the point of them when nobody can go? But, they are what they are. They're in now. And at least I suppose we can sort of plan stuff for the season, even though we can't go to the games, I guess, watching them on TV and watching them, in a pub or wherever it is. You know what I mean? I suppose.
One sec, just check the headphones. There's been an issue with the headphones, so bear with me.
I could hear you all right, man. So, but
right, Richard, can you hear me? Because I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you though. What's going on?
I can hear you.
Say something now.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You plug something else into your laptop. That's what it is.
See. I'm gonna let one sec.
See, it's live again. You see, these things happen. There's been we've had a few technical issues in the last few live things, haven't we? So, but anyway, I'm sure Ryan will be back in a minute. But in terms of the fixtures, obviously, it's good that the fixtures have been released, I guess. But I say, from our point of view as fans, I just feel frustrated, really, looking at some of the brilliant away games that they would have been early in the season, and just disappointed, really. Liverpool away early on, like last season, would have been a great day. Can't go. Man City's early in the season, can't go. Man United early in the season, can't go. Leeds, really looking forward to Leeds. I was this year. Been hoping they was going to get promoted actually for a while. And now they're up when we got a nice away game and can't go. So I was hoping that some of them games might have been later in the season when potentially fans could attend, or away fans could attend. But unfortunately, that's not the way it's worked out. So, but never mind. It is what it is, isn't it? We can't change that. So, Ryan's back. No, he's gone again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, once.
Oh, he's muted himself. He doesn't realise. You've muted yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of. I've got two of me backstage, so I'm trying to get rid of one.
Oh, right, okay.
Hopefully that works.
Yeah, you sound all right. You sound all right to me, so that's fine.
Right, cool. Thank God.
I'm sure everyone else can hear you the same then now.
No, yeah, basically what it is, because obviously these headphones, the mic went, so I spoke to the judges and he said buy these ones. And I've just went to use them, and Jonathan in the chat was saying can't hear you, so I put these back in, and that's caused a whole load of issues. So I'm having to buy that.
Yeah, I had when I tried to change my mic the other week, there was problems just because the computer's set up for one output and not the other one, and then you change it and it doesn't register, does it? But anyway, we're all sorted now.
Yeah. Sorry about all that. I will be looking into the actual something else then. I have to look into something else because long term these aren't going to last because they're iPhone headphones, let's be honest.
Yeah.
What was you saying whilst I was disappearing and doing things?
Just what we basically was touching on before we went live about, the good away games that we've got early in the season that we're not going to be able to go to. Yeah. Which has really upset me, really. But, it's what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, we're always going to miss, we don't know yet when away fans are going to be allowed in the stadiums at all anyway, do we? It might not be all through the whole season. We don't know.
Exactly.
But for me, there would have been maybe more chance of the later games in the season, possibly. I mean, there is still a few decent away trips later in the season to look forward to if we were allowed to go. It's just, some of my favourite ones, such as the two Manchester ones, Liverpool, Leeds, all early in the season, really, which is a bit of a downer, but never mind.
Yeah, well, let's quickly go for the first lot of fixtures that you've mentioned. Obviously, Fulham away, first game of the season, as you've said, would have been a fantastic away day.
Yeah, it would have been,
But... West Ham at home, nice easy win there because West Ham just David Moyes.
Well, we tend to do well against West Ham at home, don't we? Or anyway, actually. So we've got a good record against them. So I'll be reasonably confident that. I mean, to me, that should be potentially a chance to get a 6-point start, isn't it? Like we did last season.
Exactly. And then like last season, third game in, where do we go? Anfield. Yeah. But the thing is, taking out next week's game. This because of, as we've said off air, because there's been such a short period between the end of last season for us, like the 1st of August, literally a couple of weeks ago, till the new season, Community Shield, and then the new season a couple of weeks later. Match fitness will be a lot better than what it would have been last year for both teams, or especially for us, because we've played a week earlier, a week later than what they have. But also, could be a good start, a good point to play at Anfield because a week before that they've got to play Chelsea at the Bridge, so they've got a tough start as well. So I'm not saying we're going to beat Liverpool, by the way. I'm saying there's a chance we could get a point there. And let's be honest, looking at the fixtures, then first 3 games, 7 points out of 9, you snap your hand off first in the first 3 games there.
I mean, I think that this season more so than ever. I mean, I do think it's quite difficult to predict the early games in any season because you don't know how well prepared teams are. I think this season probably more so than ever, it's going to be even more difficult to predict what fitness levels teams are going to be at. It could be a great time to play Liverpool, couldn't it? Let's face it. It could be a fantastic time to play, and they might not be completely prepared. We don't know. They didn't play in the latter stage of Europe, so they've maybe had a bit more of a break, which might have helped them. We don't know, do we? It could be a bad time to play them. We just don't know, do we? At the end of the day, it's never been a good time for us to go to Anfield. Generally, last few years, has it? We generally get hammered there. So anything other than a big hammering wouldn't be a bad result in the circumstances, probably. But let's see how they start. Like you said, they've got Chelsea the week before. If they've maybe lost against Chelsea, then they're coming straight into a game against us. That could be a tough game for them, especially without their crowd in at Anfield as well. That makes a massive difference.
That's another thing as well. As you said, they haven't got the Anfield crowd beyond that 12th man, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whereas they've always said,
I think that's going to affect them. Their home record in the last 2 or 3 years has been unbelievable, hasn't it? You know, they virtually won every single home game for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And the crowd is a big part of that. There's no doubt it's made a difference. I don't think there's any question. And I know that they did not too bad at the end of the season with no crowding, but it was a different set of circumstances because they basically won the league already. Yeah. Starting from scratch now, without that advantage, I think that it's going to affect them. It will. We'll have to see exactly how much it affects them. But I'll be amazed if their home record is quite as impressive this coming season as it has been the last couple of years. I think they'll drop more points at home this year.
Well, just
a few more draws and stuff.
Just saying Liverpool as well, because the first 3 fixtures have got newly promoted Leeds, who us ourselves are expecting Leeds to do well this season. Even though it's at Anfield, that's a motivated Leeds, and it's always been when Leeds win the Premier League, that's always a great fixture to watch. And it's there's no Anfield crowd, there's no Leeds fans either, but there's no Anfield crowd, so that could benefit Leeds as well. Yeah, and the longer this goes on, that could benefit the away teams. They come to Anfield like everyone else. So
it's funny though, isn't it? That's 2 years in a row now. It's 2 years in a row now. Liverpool started the season with a newly promoted team at home. That's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, and both teams won the championship that previous season.
Yeah.
You tell me this
interesting, isn't it?
And the computer's meant to be random.
Well, it's given up Liverpool away third game of the season, second away game again, 2 seasons running.
Well, so, I'm just the thing is, every season now for how many years now is like a regular thing. The first three or 4 games of the season, it's Arsenal Liverpool at Anfield. I'm just sick of it now.
Well, we had them at home, didn't we? We had them at home first game of the season a few years ago when we lost 4-3. That one, that was at home. We always seem to play Liverpool, don't we, in the first
few games,
season. Virtually every season, it's the same, isn't it? We always get them early on, which I suppose in a way, it's not worked out for us well because they keep beating us. But hopefully this year might be different.
Hopefully, touch wood, and then literally we go on to after Liverpool away, Sheffield United at home, City away, Leicester at home, Man United away. October's a tough on paper.
Potentially that looks a tough month, doesn't it? That looks a tough month. But having said that, are Sheffield United going to be as good again? We don't know, do we? They might be. They'll be difficult to beat, probably. Leicester were on a bit of a downward spiral from the second half of last season, so we don't know how they're going to recover from that and start the new season. But potentially they're 4 quite tough games, aren't they? They're 2 Manchester clubs away from home. We never do well there, do we? So any points that we get from there, I don't think Man City are going to be quite as strong this coming season as they have been, but they're 2 difficult away games for us. That's 3 difficult away games in a row, isn't it? When you take Liverpool into account as well. So, out of them 9 points available in them 3 games, if we end up getting 2 points, you've got to say that wouldn't be a bad result, bearing in mind how poorly we've done there the last few years. But if we can win one of them 3, or more than one, but at least one of them, if we potentially could, then that could represent a decent start to the season if we're picking up points at home as well.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said with Sheffield United, things like Sheffield United, at the moment it's all guesswork if they're going to turn up or be the same as what they were last year.
I don't know. Would more teams have figured them out this season and worked out how to play against them a bit more? You don't know what transfers are still going to happen yet, do we, for everybody? There's not been many at the moment. They've lost their goalkeeper back to Man United, but they've just bought the Bournemouth goalkeeper, haven't they?
Yeah.
He looked all right, didn't he? He looks a decent enough goal. I don't think he's quite as good as Henderson, though, so that might weaken them slightly. But we'll see. He's a decent keeper, isn't he? So I'm sure he'll do a good job for him.
Well, yeah, as a Sheffield United fan, you'd like to think so, considering who would have had for the last 2 seasons. But I think it's a definite after the message that he put Henderson back yesterday. He's not going back out on loan, so that's going to be interesting. But as I said, City away and have a good away day. It's gone. United away day that we can't go to.
Yeah, gutted about all them 3 actually. Fulham as well, but mainly them 3 because they're 3 of my favourite away games every season. Them 3 and won't be able to go to anyone. And then of course the next one after that's Leeds, isn't it? As well, so would have been 4 brilliant away days. In November, at a time when I think there's a lot of good vibes at Arsenal at the minute, isn't there? With the way we finished the season, with Arteta, with what's hopefully going to be a positive transfer window, they would have been great away days, wouldn't they? With a positive environment around us all, would have been great. But unfortunately, we're going to have to shout at the telly instead.
Well, exactly. The Arsenal Misfit in the chat says October could be a crushing month for us. Obviously,
it could be a great month, couldn't it?
It could be. But this is under Arteta as well. I know it's going to be a new season, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And if you have hopefully a few additions to the squad, but he has improved the performances of the players that he inherited compared to what they were before he came in. So things like that, and the fact that we literally in the space of a week played Liverpool, in the space of a few days actually, played Liverpool midweek, weren't it? Beat them, even though we weren't the great performances in the terms of an attack. Defensively, defensively, we were on point. We went to the Emirates with a game plan against the new champions as well. They gave us a game, and we came out with a win. And then a few days later, we go to Wembley and take out Pep Guardiola's Man City with a clean sheet. And obviously, the final itself, come back from behind after an early setback, and come up. There's little things that are giving me hope that October ain't going to be as bad as people think it's going to be.
Well, no, because I'll tell you what he's done is he's massively improved the way that we've performed against the bigger teams, hasn't he? That's the one thing that he's done that's been different to the biggest difference for me is that when we played these bigger teams since Arteta's been in charge, we've played a lot better against them. I mean, the last 4 times we played against the teams that finished in the top 4, we beat them all. So that's going to give us confidence, isn't it? And I've got no doubt that whatever happens in all of those difficult games in the early part of the season, we're going to be competitive in them all. We're going to give them a game, aren't we? No, we're not going to roll over and get beaten 5-0 like we have at Anfield and stuff like that before. We're not going to do that. You can almost see that's not going to be the case. And to me, if we can pick up some results there as well, then what a fantastic boost that's going to be going into the rest of the season, isn't it? I mean, if we could win out of them 3 away games, imagine if we was to win 2 of them. I know it sounds like a big ask, but you know, we've just beaten Liverpool. We've just beaten Man City. We've seen what Man United are about. If they don't get penalties, they're not going to do anything. So, you know, potentially, I feel confident that we're going to compete in them games. Whether we can win them, we don't know, do we? But we're certainly not going to roll over, are we? Not for anybody. And we're certainly not going to roll over away at Man City again, like we did last year.
And in terms of us going, again, it could them away games in particular, the Liverpool, City United, they could be key to the longevity of the season going forward to top 4 spot. Because if we can get, say, 6 or 7 points out of them 3 games, that's huge. And again, that's a confidence boosting for the players that suddenly things are happening that weren't happening under Unai Emery and in the last few years under Wenger. That suddenly we're getting these points away from the big teams, the so-called better teams than us.
I mean, you think, right, if we get results or some sort of result against Liverpool, Man City, and Man United away from home, right, if we get decent results in them 3 games, there's no reason why from that early on in the season we couldn't then push on and have a title challenge. I hope we do. I hope we beat City and Liverpool. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Then I think we might win the league.
I think everyone would be like, what the fuck? The bookies would be like, oh, crap, we've got something.
People would take notice, wouldn't they? If we won away at Liverpool and City 2 consecutive games in a row away from home, I think people would sit up and take notice of us. That'd be brilliant, that wouldn't it? What a start to the season that'd be.
Oh my days, imagine. But also, just before we move on to November, we're looking at that first few games of the season. Do you think this really coming out as well as it has? Do you think that's going to push the board as well to get certain transfers over the line as soon as possible before the season starts? Not necessarily before the Community Shield, but because there's like a 2-week gap between the Community Shield and the season started. So the next few weeks will hopefully the core of what we need, like we're heading with like the Gabriel, Partey, things like that, we can get over the line quicker than what we would have done if it had been, say, not so hard start to the season, as in it could be like more so the teams that will be fighting for survival. You'll be expected to get fighting for survival like mid-table mediocrity. Seeing as we're playing a big chunk of last season's top 8 teams, including because we're 8th, so it teams in and around us and the Premier League champions as well. Does that give the board a kick up the arse? Like, okay, we need to get things over the line, so we're ready for the 12th of September, and there's no messing about. So, because obviously the transfer market goes into the 5th of October, I don't want us still chasing the Parteys and the Gabriels and things like that going into the season, because I want our first 11 to be ready, our strongest 11 and our bench, the strongest possible team, everything be ready. Squad plays, we want to add squad plays during when the season starts, like squad plays that are not going to be automatically in the starting 11 or the match day squad. They've got to either game match fitness or something like that, then fair enough. But players that you're looking at that you want to bring in straight away and put in your starting 11 straight away, they've got to be in ASAP, surely, before the season starts. Give them time to gel with the new players, get used to the new manager, new surroundings.
No, I mean, I agree with that. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is, and it's the same this year, isn't it? The transfer window shuts after the season's already started. And
which is weird.
It didn't last year, but it is this year. And again, to me, it's like, yes, ideally, you want to get most of your big signings done before you start. But on the other side of that is, say, for example, if we haven't managed to get a couple of deals over the line, if we still start the season and start well, then we get a couple of players in to improve us. That could even give us a bit of a boost, a bit like the January transfer window sometimes can't it? And there's that way of looking at it as well. Ideally, you want all your players to have a bit of pre-season training, like you said, to get used to the new environment that they're in, get used to the teammates and integrate into the team. But if we can't do that, and I just think that the transfer window being open until October is going to mean there's going to be a lot of deals happening, isn't there? At the beginning of October, there will be inevitably for everybody, because agents will put off the transfers because they want to get more fee, they want to get more money, they want to get stuff like that, don't they? So that's never going to happen. But let's hope we can get, if this Gabriel's going to happen, let's get this done quickly. Thomas Partey apparently could be happening next week. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Get them to him before we really start preparing for the opening few games of the season. And then, to me, that'd be a good transfer window anyway. And if we get anybody else after that, then even better. But it'll be handy to get them all in before we start. But I think inevitably that won't happen, because the transfer window isn't designed for that, is it? It's designed to go on until October now, and that's what will happen. There'll be deadline day signings right, left, and centre probably.
And then I think it's 5th of October, and then literally a month and a half later, the winter window opens. January
opens. Yeah, I know. This season is mental, really, isn't it? When you think about it, we've only actually the Champions League final Sunday. The following Saturday is the Community Shield. It's starting straight away the week after. It's mental, isn't it? Mental. Mad. And then you've got transfer window of October, and then January opens again. It's just crazy, really. The whole season is going to be crazy. It could be a whole full season of no fans for a whole season. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it, really?
To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me, this government as well.
No.
But if that's the case, lots of Sky, the pressure would have been put on Sky, lots of Sky, BT, BBC, and all the other streaming services throughout the world that have Premier League rights normally, to do what they did when the Premier League came back and cover all the games again.
Oh yeah, they'll have to, won't they? They'll have to cover them all. They'll all have to be on telly, won't they? But I mean, for me, what I think needs to be, what we mustn't forget as well, is the number of sort of smaller clubs down the line that haven't been able to have fans going out of business. Yeah. Going out of business, some of these clubs, and that shouldn't happen, really, should it? I don't know whether or not non-league football and lower leagues will be allowed in, because maybe it's easier to socially distant when you've got terrace in. Maybe they can restrict the numbers in. I don't know whether or not they might be able to get fans in lower down, maybe before they can get them in higher up. I don't know, but something needs to happen, because if the season goes through with no fans at any level of football, then we're not going to have half the clubs that we've got now coming into the season. We just won't be able to. They won't be able to keep going, will they? And that's going to be terrible for the game.
We've already seen the effect of COVID's done already, because Charlton are on the brink. They need a new owner to come in and breathe some life into it, and finances wise.
Yeah.
Bournemouth themselves have gone down. They're having to sell. Obviously, they've sold of Ramsdale. Eddie Howe's left to go. They've had to bring in his second. They couldn't go out and get someone that they could say guarantees them back, bring them back in the Premier League. They've got to strip down, go back to basics, and rebuild again.
There's going to be a lot of problems. A lot of problems are going to come out of this, and unless something sorted out in the meantime, because these clubs can't survive on an empty stadiums. They can't. Yeah. They're not getting the TV revenue lower down the leagues that the Premier League are getting. And stuff like that. They can't survive. It's impossible. They can't pay their players. They can't pay their match day staff. They can't, you know what I mean? Or all their staff in the offices and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? They can't survive. And there's going to be massive problems unless we're allowed to get fans in the stadiums somewhere. I mean, if we can't go to Arsenal games, if we're not allowed to go to the Premier League, then we should all support. If we can get into maybe non-league, lower league grounds, if we're allowed to get in there, go to our local non-league ground instead. And support that, at least try to help keep them clubs going for as long as we can, because otherwise the football's going to die, isn't it? We can't just have the Premier League really and the Championship and that's it. We can't. We need to have football's about every level, isn't it? You know, we love the Premier League, we love the European stuff, and that, you know, we support the big clubs, so we of course we like that. But without all the lower league stuff as well, it's not the same, is it? You need all that. It's all part of football, isn't it? We've all got local non-league clubs that we've watched over the years that we've enjoyed, and they're all going to die out. And I think this could be a good opportunity if no fans can go to the Premier League, but maybe they are allowed in lower leagues. We need to support them. I think our local non-league, lower league teams. Well, we can't go into the Premier League. We need to go and support them, I think, and help them as much as we can, because they're important as well. You know, they are important to football, and we need to maybe understand that as well.
I mean, John in the chat is asking, do you guys agree that we should be last in the queue? Lower league teams need fans as soon as possible. The government needs to stop fannying around, let fans back in. I'm sorry, this situation has gone on too long now. Exactly.
I totally 100% agree with that. The lower league clubs need the fans more than what we do. Yes, obviously there's loads of great away games that I'd love to go to. I'm sure we all would. But ultimately, these lower league teams and the smaller clubs, they're desperate to have the fans back in. They need that. Without that, they've had it, aren't they? There's no future for them. And that needs to happen. It does. And hopefully those smaller clubs will be allowed fans. Because I do think it will be maybe easier to organise in terms of distancing and all that sort of stuff and restricting numbers. They can probably do it maybe a little bit easier. I don't know. But definitely that needs to happen, because we're going to lose so many clubs otherwise. If the whole season's no fans anywhere for the whole season, that'll be it. There won't be as many football clubs for the season after left. There won't be. And you know, and people running football need to understand that, and the government needs to understand how important that is. You know, but you know, what can we do?
I mean, again, Simon in the chat just popped up in the live chat. Only 18 out of 92 clubs are solvent, according to Richard Keys. Reports Richard Keys referred to. The situation is serious. Valencia on the folding as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're a big club as well. So that shows, doesn't it, exactly how deep these problems are. And unless things change very quickly, they're going to get worse and worse, aren't they? And it's for me, I'm worried about what's going to happen to football. You know, I know sometimes it's easy to get in your own little bubble. You know, we've just won the FA Cup. There's lots of exciting things happening at our club, and sometimes it's easy to forget the game in general, you know, and I think it's important that we don't forget it, because I think it's massively important now, more so than ever. And I'll certainly be going to local football if we're allowed to go there. I'll certainly be doing that at the start of the season. While we can't go to watch our own club, I'll certainly be supporting as many local clubs as I can, because I feel that's so important. But if we can't go, we can't go. You know what I mean? What can we do? You know what I mean? It's just, unfortunately, they need to put a policy in place and get it sorted out quickly, because the season's nearly here, isn't it? It's only 3 weeks till the start of the Premier League, and 3 weeks until all the leagues are starting. And the Scottish Premier League's already started, isn't it?
Yeah,
that started a few weeks ago.
They're like 3-4 games into their season. Most of them, anyway. Apart from
Scottish football's got a lot more problems than we have in England. When you think, apart from Rangers and Celtic, they're the only two clubs in Scotland that could probably survive no fans for a whole season, aren't they? They're probably the only two that could survive realistically in the whole of Scottish football. So you know, they've got massive more problems than even we have. So, but it's ridiculous what's happening with it all, and I do feel sad. You know, it is sad that football clubs are a big part of the local communities, aren't they? Even the smaller clubs are, and when they won't be able to carry on anymore, that's a big, massive. You know, it's terrible, really. It's terrible, but you know, it's out of our hands, isn't it? You know, if crowds aren't allowed, they're not allowed in, are they? So, what can you do?
I mean, the Arsenal misfit is saying in the chat, the only way you can have crowds back in is if everyone wears a mask and 2 seats between each fan. Anyone that breaks the rule, must be escorted out of the building immediately. No second chance.
But they're on about no singing in that as well, aren't they? I read that the other day. I think about getting fans in with no singing. What's the point then? Honestly, absolutely no point. You know, yes, the money side of it and all that kind of stuff. Yes, but football's all about the atmosphere. It's all about people meeting up, isn't it? It's a community thing, and you know, and that's what they need to understand. You know, yes, people have got to be safe. People have got to feel safe and all that kind of stuff. Yes, they have, but you know, there needs to be some compromises made. There's been compromises made elsewhere, hasn't there, for people to be able to do certain things, pubs opening and all this kind of stuff. You know, they've made compromises to allow other types of business to operate. They need to do the same for football.
Exactly. There's also talk about the pantos obviously not being like Christmas panto wise, they've been like put back to Easter. So that's at Christmas. It's Easter pantos. I was like, so that puts me.
Christmas. Let's just postpone Christmas completely this year.
Exactly.
Christmas in June next year or something like that in the summer for a change. 1 year. Everything else has changed this year. Let's do that as well. Why not?
Yeah. Let's also stay at home in a little bubbles and never do anything for the rest of our lives, basically, according to the fucking Tory government.
Yeah, no, let's do that as well. Yeah, don't go and meet anyone just in case. Even though there's nothing wrong with you might still pass it on to someone else, even though you're perfectly healthy. But anyway, never mind.
Yeah, 1 second. Let's go do 1 sec. And yeah, go back to the fixtures. November, 3 games, league wise anyway, because obviously the Europa League will be back by then. Villa at home, Leeds away, as we touched on already, and Wolves at home. And then obviously the North London derby in the first week of December. Away.
Yeah, away again. Yeah. So I mean, again, you look at some of them fixtures, you think, potentially the 2 home games, you'd expect us to pick points up from there, wouldn't you? Villa and Wolves. I know Wolves are a difficult team to play, but, you'd imagine that we'll get some points there. Leeds away, we don't know how well they're going to adapt to the Premier League. By that point, they would have played 10 games or whatever, wouldn't they? So that they'll have form, either good or bad, behind them. But that's potentially going to be a tough game. But again, with no fans in there, their crowd makes a massive difference as well, Ellen Road. So, we've got potential there to pick some points up, at least a point maybe there. Obviously, Tottenham away, we need to definitely beat them this year, don't we? After what happened at the tail end of last season when we played them away, so I think there's got to be a response from that. I think, and I'm sure that the players will be well up for that, having sort of folded, didn't we, when we went 1-0 up last time? So. But I mean, no games are easy. Let's be honest. It's the Premier League, isn't it? It's not easy games. No game's an easy game. But it's all about form and momentum, isn't it? And if we've got a good start, picked up some points in them big games, we've got that momentum going forward. And then, hopefully some of these other games might be a little bit easier for us. Or alternatively, if that hasn't happened and we've had a bad start, then it's going to be difficult. Every game is going to be more difficult, isn't it? So, but yeah, I mean, that run of games there doesn't fill me with that much dread, if I'm honest. Leeds away can be tough. Tottenham away is obviously never an easy game, is it? Let's be honest. And the two home games, I'll be confident of picking points up there. And then that's not a bad little run of games out, to be fair.
But again, it's like second time this year, because it's still in 2020, the North London derby. Second time now, we away to Tottenham. We can't go.
I know. The new stadium, I know, yeah, it's the way it works out, isn't it? But what can we do? I mean, it's just the way it's gone, isn't it? So unfortunately, that's just going to have to wait another year, unless we get them in the later on in a cup or something, maybe later in the season as well. Maybe
the FA Cup or something. Yeah. But yeah, it's so frustrating, and as you said, we don't know the whole season. Could be no fans at all. Way things are going.
Or no away fans, certainly. I mean, I think if they do decide to bring fans back, I've got a feeling away fans will be the last to come back, won't they? Because the away ends tend to be not very well spaced today with the concourse area and stuff like that. And I've got a feeling that they'll be the last people to come back will be away fans. So unfortunately, I think we might have to accept that this season we might not have any away trips, unfortunately.
Yeah. It just said North London
things change quickly, don't they? Things change quickly with all of this, and you never know. By the time we get out of the winter and by the time we get to maybe February, there might be a whole set of circumstances, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, and yeah, it's just as I said, it's just as we've touched on, it's frustrating that we won't be able to go to like Tottenham away in December. It could be a point where if Mourinho hadn't obviously started the way Tottenham wanted to start, pressure could be on him, and that could be the game where we could finish him off. It would be nice to be there and actually witness it.
Well, wasn't it a couple of years ago when he was at Man United and we played away at Old Trafford, didn't we? Wasn't that one of his last games at Old Trafford at Man United, wasn't it, when we drew 2-2? I think it was in Emery's season. And I'm sure he left Man United soon after that, didn't he? So that was one of his last games there, I think.
It might have been actually, because then I think Liverpool, the 2-2, and then I think it was Liverpool a week or so later, or a few days later, something like that, and then Liverpool battered them, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was near the end because there was talk. I was worried before we played him away that season that they might sack him before, and then obviously you get a new manager and you get a bounce from that usually. But as it turned out, obviously they kept him for that game. We should have beat him that day, unfortunately, but we didn't. And then, like you said, he ended up getting sacked, didn't he, a couple of weeks later? But like you said, the same could happen again, couldn't it? Because that was December as well. That was early December.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to last much longer than that, does he, when he has a bad start? So that might be his luck, maybe. We'll see. He might go before then.
Yeah, and then, hope, well, either way. I don't. Burnley, and then obviously, 12th of December onwards, we've got Burnley, Southampton, Everton, Boxing Day at home to Chelsea, and we finished the year away to Brighton for the second time in 3 years. I think that's happened now.
Yeah, we tend to play Brighton over Christmas generally, don't we?
Yeah, and then obviously, we start the new year away to West Brom, Palace, Newcastle, Southampton, and then United on the 30th of January, and a month's later, after FA Cup.
There's some. That's a good run of games. If you're picking a few games to have in a row, a busy time of year in December over Christmas and that's not a bad run of games, is it? Chelsea probably won't be easy. United as well, but a lot of them other games, you look at them and think we could get a little bit of a momentum going there, couldn't we? Potentially, a run of good results because they look at them games and you think, you know what, I would feel quite comfortable winning quite a few of them. I know, like you said, it never works like that generally, but look at it in fixtures, you'd think there's a good opportunity in December, either side of Christmas, to get on a decent run. And, that can make a massive difference to the rest of the season, can't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. They're having a chat about Arteta and Mourinho, and one saying Mourinho's great, and one, obviously, where the sensible side are saying that ain't the case at all. You can't judge someone over one game, one North London derby. Behave yourself.
Now, of course, I mean, I totally agree. Arteta's won a trophy, but I suppose, the other argument that is Mourinho's won a lot more, hasn't he, in his career? I know he's a bit of a spent force now, but ultimately he has still got a good record, hasn't he, in terms of trophies won at the moment still. And Arteta's job now is to match that, or try and match that, isn't it, over the next few years, and start winning trophies on that regular basis that he once did. And hopefully, I'd see no reason why he can't do that. Bearing in mind, Jose's had a lot of money to spend previously when he has had success, hasn't he? Yeah, he sort of bought most of it, didn't he? So, but anyway.
Oh, exactly. And then obviously after January, we go into the business end of the season. Then February, always assuming all things go well between up till then, and we're in a mathematical chance we're in that race, top four, or whatever, third, fourth, whatever. We've then
first or second. Come on.
Or second, yeah. You never know. Strange things have happened, let's be honest. And
Leicester won the league a few years ago.
And in 2020, look what's happened so far in the world in general. So everything. But yeah, we then go away to Wolves, away to Villa, home to Leeds, home to City, Man City, and away to Leicester City in that month of February.
That looks tough, doesn't it? That looks tough, doesn't it? Some away games there. I mean, Villa and Wolves consecutive weeks is tough, isn't it? Obviously, Man City is always going to be tough. We know that, and then Leicester as well. So that's quite a tough month, that isn't it? Actually, potentially looking at that, that could be a make or break month for us, couldn't it? Like you said, if we're in the running for something, whether it's top four, whether it's higher, that month's going to decide maybe where the rest of the season goes. If we get some good results there, 3 away games out of 4, and the only home game's Man City. If we come out of that month with a few points,
we've got 2 home games, Leeds and Man City.
Leeds at home, yeah.
Again, Leeds, you don't know what season they're going to have. They could have a Sheffield United sort of season, and be amongst it themselves. So that'd be a tough game. No,
exactly, and that's a big month, that actually, and that could decide where the season goes. In previous seasons, February's been the month that's cost us, hasn't it? That's when we've blown a lot of seasons in February previously. I know we've got a different manager now, and I know things are a bit different, but that just concerns me slightly, because that's been a month previously when things have fallen apart. We've got knocked out of Europe, and the Premier League's gone to pot as well. So let's hope that this different this year. But that's a tough run of games. That is tough.
Well, then after that, March-wise, 3 games in March, league-wise, again league, not including the cups because we don't know what's going to go on there dates-wise.
Yeah.
Burnley away, Tottenham at home, West Ham away.
It's a little bit better, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit easy. Ease off a bit.
Bit better. Burnley, we've got a good record there. We tend to pick up results here, don't we? Obviously, Spurs at home, they don't tend to beat us at the Emirates, do they? So, again, that's a decent game. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully, if we've come out of February intact, so to speak, then that's a nice little run to get us keep moving into the real kind of crucial part of the season, isn't it? But by then, of course, there's normally injuries have kicked in by then. Obviously, there's been the January transfer window as well. We might have added a couple of players in as well. We don't know, do we? But that's the point in the season where injuries and stuff like that start really kicking in, don't they? That's when we've had problems previously. So, but that's certainly a little bit easier. Well, I say easier, slightly easier run of games than we've maybe had in February.
Yeah, and then as you said, it sort of gets somewhat easy for us in March. April, it goes the opposite direction. Literally, Liverpool at home, Sheffield United. We don't know if they'll continue their form from last season. We're assuming they do. That could be a tough game away from home. Yeah. Fulham at home, and then Everton at home. Again, Everton, we don't know what's going to go on there eventually, and they're improved themselves. So that's another tough month for us. But going back to February, as you said about February, if we can get out of February, if we can still be in the hunt for whatever in February, league-wise, and that gives me more. That'll give, and come April, then I'll be more confident of getting something coming out of that on a high, not like
exactly that. Yeah, I mean, the fixtures are what they are, and we're not going to know how well they've fallen for us until.
Till the season gets going, and you actually start seeing teams.
It's all about momentum and injuries, isn't it? And some of the games that look difficult, if that team at the time we play them has got a lot of injury problems, then it might not be so as bad as it looks. The other way around, of course, some of the teams that we look at and think, that might be an easy game. We might go into it with a few players missing. Aubameyang might be injured, or if he's still here and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you just don't know, do you? But looking at potentially, we've got the fixtures don't seem to be very well organised from my point of view. We've got very hard games altogether. Then we've got a run of easier games and another difficult run, and it doesn't seem to be consistent. I'd rather they be more spread out. The difficult games or potentially difficult games be more spread out. But it's what it is, and it could help us actually.
It could. But to be fair, it's not just us. It's done that too, because I've gone on and looked at Man United's fixtures and things like that. Teams around us that could be finishing in and around us and all that, high or low or whatever. It's the same thing. They'll be a period when we're going through it. They'll have an easy period, and we're going. But usually it's so spaced out. It's so like the teams are so evenly spaced. That league fixtures are spaced out so evenly.
Yeah,
that you can't really say that's a definite tough month. Whereas we've gone through this so far, and there's like 3 months where you're thinking they're potentially tough. They make or break in stages throughout the whole season.
Yeah, it looks that way. It looks that way, but like you said, once the season gets going and other factors play a part, don't they? Form and injuries and suspensions and cup runs as well. Europe. If we're playing someone after a European game when they've been away in Azerbaijan or somewhere, and then we play them the following weekend, that might give us an advantage if we've been at home in Europe that week and stuff like that. So lots of different factors have to go into it as well. But looking at the fixtures as they are now, it looks like we've got some really tough run of games 2 or 3 times through the season, and then a run of a few potentially easier games, and that seems to be the way. And as other people have said, it seems to be the same with other clubs as well. I don't think we're the only one that's got that.
Going back to January when we're playing Newcastle, Southampton, and obviously United. Looking back at United's fixtures in that period, 16th they've got Liverpool away. The following game they've got Sheffield United at home. Again, we don't know the quantity of what's going on there. And then they've got us at our place. So, whereas looking at the 3 fixtures, we're looking at on paper it looks
we could come into that on more momentum, couldn't we?
Well, we'd have the momentum behind us, whereas they would they could come off a batting of Liverpool. They could come off a shock defeat or result wise against Sheffield United at home at Old Trafford. And obviously coming to the Emirates then, and the form that we've had against United in recent years against United at the Emirates, even especially last season, beginning of this New Year's Day, we won 2-0 and things like that. So again, momentum's going to be momentum, things like that. If we can take that momentum take the hold of the initiative when we need to.
Yeah.
When the big games come across, like the Man United, when it hits us there, and obviously Wolves and all that afterwards.
Yeah,
that'll be crucial as well. That's going to be
it will. Yeah, and
this is
if we can get results in big games, we can from ourselves, bearing in mind we haven't done that consistently over a number of years now. If we can manage to do that, then that's going to make a massive difference, isn't it, for the other games that come after them? Definitely, in terms of confidence and everything else that goes along with it, So, but I mean, that's...
And John says in the chat, our first for Liverpool fans' perspective, our first 6 games is Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and Sheffield United. He's left out Leeds because of even though the Leeds have just come up. I'd want to throw Leeds in there because that's an unknown quantity. You don't know how Bielsa's going to come into the plays as well.
I've got a feeling that's going to be the first game they'll show on telly. That could be like a Friday night game. First game of the season. And I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds get a draw at Anfield, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And then they've got Chelsea away, which Chelsea, that's going to be a tough game with their new signings as well. And then obviously we play them. So Liverpool could lose their first 3 games or maybe get 1 point from their first 3 games. That'd be a shame, wouldn't it?
Something crazy like that. And literally that sends somewhat shockwaves within the actual media itself, because the media are always, especially Sky, that Sky are fucking full of Liverpool pundits. So come on.
One thing you can say is Mark Lawrence will predict Liverpool win every single match again, and that we lose every single match. But that always happens every year anyway.
Liverpool versus Man City. Liverpool will win 5-0.
Yeah.
Oh,
he loves it, doesn't he, Mark Lawrence, and he makes me laugh.
Oh dear. I prefer Alan Hansen when it comes to punditry, to be honest, out of the two.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, at least he was a bit.
He just spoke more sense. He was less biased.
Alan Hansen was all right, actually. I know he got a bit of stick with this and the other, but I actually quite liked him. I sort of miss him, actually, on Match of the Day and stuff like that. He's only really righty on Match of the Day that's worth watching, isn't it? If anyone else is on, I mean, Martin Keown can be all right, I suppose, but righty's the best one, isn't he? When he's on, it's worth watching. I mean, Shearer's a miserable twat, isn't it? The best of times. Yeah. Danny Murphy hates Arsenal so much, it's ridiculous.
Well, literally,
Jermaine Jenas plays for Spurs, so he's not going to like us, is he? Do you know what I mean? So,
as you said, apart from Ian Wright, who obviously everyone knows, Martin Keown is an all right pundit when it comes to breaking down games. He's good at breaking down the actual details of games and explaining more things like that.
Yeah,
but he's not biased though. Even when it comes to Tottenham,
he's not as biased as he should be. I think he's a bit more biased personally.
Whereas you see Alan Shearer, Danny Murphy, Jermaine Jenas, and God knows who else they fucking bring on throughout the season.
Phil Neville sometimes, isn't he?
Phil Neville.
I don't mind Phil Neville, actually.
Not just that they show their hatred for Arsenal every week. When Arsenal have a big win, you can see they're like, ugh. But basically, the bias they show is unbelievable. You can't odds it. And as John in the chat said, Danny Murphy's the worst pundit ever.
No, he is. Yeah, he is terrible. I mean, in the FA Cup final, his commentary against Arsenal was honestly ridiculous. I've never, but we shouldn't expect anything different, really, should we, from him? Because he's never liked Arsenal. I don't know what his problem is actually, but anyway.
Well, we won stuff and he didn't, so.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know, but he definitely got an issue with Arsenal, hasn't he? Like a lot of them have. Shearer has as well, Shearer, when he has to praise Arsenal, he does it through gritted teeth, doesn't he? He doesn't like having to praise Arsenal, Alan Shearer. I don't know whether it's because he very rarely scored against us at Highbury. 1 goal he got at Highbury in his whole career against us, didn't he?
Well, even that's BBC and Sky. Every now and then they reach out to Ashley Cole and bring him on for certain games as well. And we saw him in the FA Cup final. Ian, I
don't mind Ashley Cole, actually. I mean, he's not bad as a pundit, is he? He's all right. I think so. I know he's a new one, isn't he? So he's not done much yet, but I don't mind him at the moment. Yeah. I don't mind him, actually.
When you compare him to Ian Wright, you've seen the FA Cup final, Ian Wright's there.
Oh, yeah.
And at the Cole's there, like, well, Chelsea lost.
Yeah, but I mean, he was there. He was there on the Chelsea side, wasn't he? He was really, was he? Because you had Ian Wright, obviously, on the Arsenal side, and they put him really to be on the Chelsea side, didn't they? Essentially, and at the end of the day, he played more games for Chelsea, Ashley Cole, than he did for Arsenal. Yeah, and the stick he's got off Arsenal fans, it's no wonder he doesn't particularly like Arsenal now. I don't blame him. The man got. And whether he deserved it or not, yeah, he probably did some of it. But, if you're getting stick off Arsenal fans for 10, 12 years of your life, you're not going to like the club particularly much, are you? So
the thing is,
I understand where he's coming from, maybe in a way.
Yeah, from my perspective, he should be able to take that on the chin, considering the manner of how he left Arsenal. A year before he leaves, in the defence of our title, the 04-05 season, it comes out in the January that he's having secret meetings with Mourinho and Chelsea.
No, it was all out of order.
Whilst trying to get more money out of Arsenal for a new contract, so he's trying to play. He's doing an Elka where he's trying to play bidding wars. So that's all he come out. No, I'm all committed. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to leave. And then obviously, season later, and then
he deserved a lot of criticism and stick that he took at the time. I definitely agree.
And how he treated the man that gave him his career in the first place, in that summer as well, in that summer of him leaving, didn't invite him to where he wouldn't talk to him. It completely throws him out. And how he's behaved since then.
Yeah.
Years. Yeah. Okay. You can say the abuse was to a man. You can only take so much. But come on, if you're partly instigating that in the first place, just take it on the chin and move on.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree, but you can understand maybe why he might not be so keen on Arsenal now as he maybe would have been a few years ago, just having taken all that stick. So I don't really blame him in a way. It's his own fault as well, I guess, as well. Yeah. But you can understand why he's not exactly going to be jumping about when Arsenal score in the same way that Wrighty is. I mean, you wouldn't expect him to do that, would you? I mean, in terms of favourite commentator there that Daniel's put on there, to be honest with you, anybody apart from Vicky Sparks will do me.
Yeah, same.
Because she's terrible, isn't she? I can't stand listening to her commentary. And it's not a sexist thing or anything like that. There's a lot of good female commentators in the. I watch a lot of women's football actually. And they've got some good commentators, but she just doesn't. I just don't like the way she commentates, unfortunately.
Hence why we've said anyone but her.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest with you, most of the commentators are all right. It's more the second commentators that are the problem, aren't they? The sort of the pundits are the problem, not so much the commentators. I don't really mind the commentators too much. I didn't really like Motti that much generally, or Jonathan Pearce can be a bit annoying as well, perhaps. But most of them are all right. I don't really mind them. It's more the pundits or the second commentator that's the problem. The ex-professional, if you like, they're the ones that's the problem. Robbie Savage and those sort of people.
With Vicky, it just seems forced when she's trying to be like,
she
excited.
Screeches too much as well for me. She screeches, and I don't like that. She's just annoying. But there are some good female commentators that I say in the Women's World Cup and stuff. There was a few and stuff like that. So it's not because she's a woman necessarily. I'm not sure if a woman commentating in the men's game really works as well. I don't know. Maybe Vicky Sparks is better doing the women's game. I don't remember hearing too much of her during the women's sort of World Cup and stuff. I'm not sure, but I don't know. And like on BT, they have a lot of women's games on, don't they, as well? In the Women's Premier League, and the commentators there are generally pretty good, I think. It doesn't seem to work well in the Men's Premier League for some reason. It just doesn't, unfortunately. And she's a bit of a screecher, so.
We even Cheddar's in the chat says Vicky Sparks is awful. Daniel even pops up afterwards and says ITV screwed over Clive Tilsley. He's one of the ones I actually do like as well.
He's right, yeah. I mean, I say the commentators generally are fine. I think most of them are all right, aren't they? Guy Mowbray's pretty decent, isn't he?
ITV, I don't know what their mindset was behind that, but letting him go, they're idiots. Absolute
Well, apparently they're not letting him go. He's not doing the same level of games he was. I think Sam Matterface has replaced him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Apparently. Which, I'm not a big fan of his, if I'm honest. He's been on TalkSport too much, and I don't like TalkSport at all. So anyone that's on there generally, it goes down in my estimations quite quickly. But yeah, I don't know what's gone on there. I mean, he's been a commentator on ITV for years, hasn't he, Clive Till? That's what the Champions League used to be, didn't it? Clive Till. Yeah, that's what he always was. It'd be a shame, actually. Yeah, I probably will kind of miss him, actually, because he's always been good. But let's face it, ITV don't have a lot of football now anyway, do they? So,
it's only because BT price, in terms of Champions League, where BT have priced everyone out of competing for the Champions League rights. It's like every year, BT had the worst commentators and the worst pundits.
Yeah,
literally, they just throw money to make sure they get the deal, but they don't actually invest money in getting the top-notch people.
No, I mean BT's coverage of football is dreadful. Honestly, It's dreadful. I mean, I think anybody with a camera could do a better job than them. It's horrible. Their coverage is the worst coverage I've ever seen of football, ever. And with the money that they've put into it, you'd imagine they could come up with something a bit better. You know, when they do the stuff on the pitch, you know what I mean? They're talking in the pitch. I can't even afford a studio. I mean, it's ridiculous. Honestly, I just can't stand watching BT. If the game's on BT, I'll watch it from the teams coming out onto the pitch to the game finishing. I'm not going to watch anything else because it's just horrible. But anyway,
at half time, do myself a cup of tea as well. So
exactly. At half time, do something else, and then come back for the second half, and that's it. So you haven't got to put up with all the nonsense. But anyway, luckily the Premier League's not on BT much, is it? They've got a few games, but not many. We tend to be more on Sky, don't we?
You watch most of our games to be on BT now. You said that.
Yeah, they probably will now, just on purpose, just to wind me up even more.
Go back to the fixtures now. The last month of the season, May 1st, first day of the month. Newcastle away. Obviously, these dates are subject to change. But Newcastle away, West Brom at home, Chelsea away, Palace away, and then we finish the season on May 23rd. At home to Brighton, but also the Palace away game, if we were to get to the FA Cup final, would then have to be moved to either before or after, because obviously the final's on the 15th of May.
Yeah, see, again, they've done that. I remember a few years ago when they moved the FA Cup to before the end of the season, didn't they? I never really liked that, and they've done it again. I don't know. I'm not happy about that. But I suppose you've got the playoffs and all that kind of stuff, haven't you? Because the season's finishing a bit later because it's starting later and all that. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like that fact that they're moving the FA Cup final still in the season, if you like. I don't really like that. But I mean, that's not a bad way to finish the season, actually, is it? I mean, Chelsea away is generally a tough game for us. And that could be a crucial game as well, couldn't it? In terms of top four, maybe, depending on how things are going. But certainly the other games there, you look at some of them and think that's not a bad run-in, is it, actually? But again, we don't know the momentum of it all on the time. But looking at it, it doesn't look a bad run-in, does it? Crystal Palace normally, by the end of the season, they're safe and they've switched off. So that's not a bad. They're not a bad team to play at the end of the season, generally, are they? So that doesn't seem too bad. Newcastle again. You know, I know they could still get taken over, but if they don't get taken over, usually Newcastle are safe by then as well. So that could generally be a nothing game for them, maybe. I mean, Brighton at home, that could be a big game for Brighton, maybe, if they're still fighting relegation, possibly at the last game. They might be. We don't know. I imagine they'll be struggling again. So, but hopefully they'll be safe by then, and that can be a nothing game for them. Imagine if we have to beat Brighton at home to win the Premier League. Give the Emirates its big, massive celebration day, which we haven't had yet. That'd be great, wouldn't it? What a game to have last game of the season to win the league, Brighton at home. You'd like that, wouldn't you? If you could pick a game to have. I know Brighton actually have been our bogey team, haven't they, last few years, actually? But looking at some of the games, you'd think, well, Brighton at home to win the league, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
Also by then you'd assume last game of the season they'd either be gone or safe anyway. Switched off.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully that'll be the case. But I mean, you know, there's one of the games. If you was looking at a game, if you had to have a last game of the season where you needed to win, whatever it's for, I mean, that'd be one of them. You'd look at and think, yeah, I know the last couple of years we haven't beat them, but you know, potentially you'd look at it and think that's a game for us, isn't it? That's the game you'd want to have for your last game to win the league, obviously.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Oh dear. Imagine that. Imagine we pull something like that off out of nowhere, and all the stick at Arteta has been given. No experience, and also as well, no experience. What you think? I
mean, you got to think, right?
And then obviously first full season potentially. If he was to pull this off, win a Premier League title, like obviously, ideally, realistically, obviously, there'd be a lot needs to happen. But anything can happen. We've seen, as we said, touched on before, 2016, Liverpool, Leicester City, sorry, out of nowhere. So stranger things have happened. I mean,
you got to think, right? Liverpool won the league last year. They're only a little club who never won the Premier League before, so anything's possible, isn't it?
Oh God, Jonathan's got to go off. Oh dear.
Yeah, but anyway, so but at the end of the day, I'm optimistic that we can do well this season. I must admit, I am optimistic that we can. Let's wait and see when the transfers actually go through, because at the moment it's all speculation, isn't it? And if we get 2 or 3 of them deals done, then I'll be even more optimistic. I'm 100% behind Arteta. I think he's done a great job. I think he's just going to get better and better. I've just seen John's comment again. But no, I mean, I'm 100% behind Arteta. I love what he's done so far. Giving him a full season, I'm hoping for big things. I must admit, winning the league's probably a little bit optimistic at this particular point, isn't it? Let's be honest. But certainly a massive improvement. I can't see us being down in 8th place again. I think the worst case scenario is we're challenging for the top 4. Well, I mean, Liverpool deserve to win the league eventually after 30 years, didn't they? So fair play.
I mean, in the 30 years, we've won what league title was. We won 8. Obviously, in that 30 years, we won 91, 98, 2002.
We've won 4. Yeah. We've won 4, yeah. 4 league titles. We've probably won about 12 FA Cups as well in that time, I would have thought.
Yeah, 4.
Liverpool will say they've won the Champions League twice, won't they? That's what they'll say.
Yeah, 5 league titles, include 89. So in 31 years, we've won 5 league titles compared to their 2 titles. But anyway, but yeah, they've won Champions League.
They've won 2 Champions Leagues, haven't they? They have. So there you go.
As you said, we've won 7, 8, 9 FA Cups in the 30 years. 10 years, maybe 10.
It's probably a low, isn't it? Because we won 4 in the last 6 years, haven't we? So
we won 7 under Wenger his entire tenure. We won after this one that's just gone. That's 8. George Graham in 93, 94.
93, yeah. So he won 1, yeah.
So that's.
And of course, we won the Cup Winners' Cup as well, which is better than winning the Champions League. So
European Cup Winners' Cup.
I don't think there's no comparison, is it? Really? Do you know what I mean? Liverpool won the didn't they win the UEFA Cup? Didn't they? 1 year when they won the League Cup as well. They won the League Cup a few times. So they used to win in the small trophies, aren't they, Liverpool?
Yeah.
So we'll let them have this Premier League. We'll let them have this one for once. That's it. And then that's they deserve one, don't they? After all this time, do you know what I mean? That's all they're getting.
For another 30 years.
Yeah, another 30 years. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, Jonathan saying that 2000 has only been a good time for us in Europe. Really, obviously they won the UEFA Cup and Champions League. Yeah,
I mean they won a few FA Cup, didn't they? A couple of FA Cups, I think they won, didn't they? League Cup a couple of times. I mean, to be fair, we since obviously 2004 when we won the league, we haven't exactly covered ourselves in glory in the 2000s, have we? Up from that point on, we've won a few FA Cups, which has been great. But we obviously should be doing better, really, shouldn't we? I guess as the standing of our club, but hopefully, good time to come in. That's what I say. Especially
in the early years of the early couple of years of the Emirates, where we had title challenges and we fucking bottled it.
Yeah, we did. We didn't quite have the squads, did we? Then to see it through. Unfortunately,
0708, we had the squad. All the person in the squad that was the weakest point first part of the squad that was weak was goalkeeping, and we almost had it, and we fucking bottled it. And then Gareth fucking having a kick off on the pitch, and then broke his leg. Then a couple of years later, with a top leg, Ramsey broke his leg before.
I think we only finished. Was it only 3 points off the title that year, weren't we? I think 3 or 4 points off at the end.
0708, we're about 4 points off in the end, and we finished
something like that. We got like 85 points or something, didn't we, for the season, which is unbelievable. That, but
and again, in a normal season, that would have won us the title.
Yeah, we would have won lots of titles at 80 odd points. You know what I mean? It was now, of course, you need to get nearly 100 points to win the league, don't you? So it's changed again.
You need to.
I don't think it will be this season. I don't think whoever wins the league this year is, I think you're looking at maybe 80, 85, 86, 87, 88 points. Somewhere around about that will probably win you the league this year, I think. I don't think you're going to get the 90 odd points that we've had. I just don't think you will. But we'll see. I don't see it myself.
I think more so because of how congested the fixture list will be with all the teams in Europe, League Cups, FA Cups, even though there's
no replays either now, is there, in the FA Cup, they've said?
No replays in the FA Cup, and there's no second leg two-legged semi-final for the League Cup. But still fixtures there, and then literally being because of finish on the 23rd, I think it said on 23rd of May, and there's Euro start on the 13th of June, so literally in 2.5 weeks, you've got the Euro start. And amongst that, you've got the Olympics then, that are both a year late starting. Yeah. So players are playing for the European teams, or the Olympic side.
Yeah.
They're going to have no pre-season again, and they've got to go again for the following season.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's going to be literally, it's almost going to be 2 consecutive years, isn't it, of hardly any break for the top players, playing international football and that kind of stuff. It's going to be difficult.
Just before we wrap
I
up,
watched that Anelka documentary. Yeah, I watched that earlier in the week. Really, really good. I really enjoyed it, actually. And for me personally, I thought he came across quite well, actually, in it. I know he wasn't a lot about Arsenal because, he wasn't at Arsenal very long, was he, I suppose? But I liked his attitude, the fact that he wasn't prepared to take shit off people, was he? He wasn't prepared to put up with things that he didn't agree with. So I quite liked him. He came out of it better for me. Maybe I had more of a negative view of him before. But having watched that, I actually quite like him now a little bit more than I did, actually.
Even at Real Madrid in their Galactico era of what it was back then, you wouldn't take that. Yeah. You weren't turning up to train. No, I'm not turning up to training. You're not picking me. What's the bother? Exactly.
I kind of liked his attitude, actually. I know it may be wrong, but I just he wasn't prepared to. He wanted to be the best, didn't he? He did want to be the best, and he felt as though he was, and he felt he should have been treated like that a lot of times. And I kind of felt a lot of sympathy for him. Actually. It was called misunderstood, wasn't it? And I think he I misunderstood him. I think I understand him a bit better from having seen that, and I maybe like him a bit more than I did. So, fair play to Anelka. He's had a good career, didn't he? He did have a good career.
I think the only main thing that lets him down in his career is that his brothers, whatever, who his agents, will always be on the scenes trying to play bidding wars between the big clubs.
Maybe they were a little bit. Yeah, he didn't really go into that too much, did he? In that, he didn't really go into it.
He didn't really touch him, but obviously, there's talk of him doing that when he did it when he was at Arsenal to Madrid and all that and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they had a big input, but.
And further down the line, it comes out when he was at Liverpool. He wanted to stay. He made his intent clear, but his brothers were going behind his back and Liverpool's back, trying to get him bigger deal moves here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. I don't think they helped him settle anywhere, did they? And that was probably why he moved around so much as he did. Because, like he said, he would have been quite happy to have stayed at Liverpool for longer because he felt he enjoyed it being there, didn't he? And unfortunately, that didn't happen. Chelsea was probably the longest club he stayed at, wasn't it? And he probably had his biggest success at Chelsea, I think, in terms of what he won and all that kind of stuff. Golden boots, and he won the double with them as well, didn't he? So,
yeah.
But no, I thought he came out of that well for me. I enjoyed it actually. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Yeah. Well, if you haven't watched it, it's well worth watching. Actually, it is well worth watching. There's some good stuff in there. It's just a shame that it's all in French, so they have to overdub it, which is a bit strange at times. When it's overdubbed and the people's voices, you get a bit confused as to you got Thierry Henry, and it's not Thierry Henry's voice, and Arsene Wenger. It's like, okay, it's a bit strange, but anyway, I enjoyed it, and it is worth watching definitely if you haven't seen it yet.
You definitely upset Jonathan, by the way.
He said now in 30 years we've won
4 League Cups,
and some small trophies. A few small trophies, a couple of little small Champions Leagues, fair enough. We'll win one day, I'm sure.
Daniel says he felt a bit sorry for Anelka because he was stitched up over the whole French thing. Well, not just him, but maybe he was like the centrepiece of that, so to speak, in the French media. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, no, he did. He got a bit harshly treated there, didn't he? And you think that was the only World Cup he actually got to play in as well, because he hasn't got picked for the previous 2 for one reason or another, which he maybe should have done. So yeah, it was a shame that his World Cup memories, if you like, are always going to be about that big controversy in 2010, where obviously France, had a terrible time, didn't they? And it appears as though what he apparently had said he didn't really say. Everybody basically said that, didn't they? The manager said he hadn't said it. It was basically made up, which is unusual for the media to make stuff up about people, isn't it? But anyway.
What a surprise there! Shock, horror.
Yeah, I know that never normally happens, does it? So no, I agree. I agree with Daniel. I felt sorry for him over all of that as well. Yeah. In fact, I felt sorry for him for a lot of it. Actually, I don't feel as though he was. Yeah, maybe he didn't help himself sometimes with his attitude, whereas he wasn't prepared to put up with everybody's shit, was he? And he maybe didn't help himself, but he maybe could have. I thought he had a decent career, but he could have maybe had an even better career, couldn't he? When you think when him and Henry were playing together for France at the beginning, Anelka was looked on as a better player, wasn't he? When they first broke into the French team, which was strange. Their careers kind of turned out when Henry replaced him at Arsenal, and obviously went on to become, probably the greatest player in the Premier League ever. And Anelka's career never really took off, which was strange, really, because I think at that time Anelka was probably more highly regarded, which is why Wenger got him in the first place, wasn't it? That was why he wanted to get him.
Yeah, Reese from Facebook was asking, when do you think the right time for fans to be introduced back into stadiums?
The 12th of September, for me, first game of the season. But it won't happen, obviously. We'll have to see. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Because we don't know how things are going to change. I mean, I think lower down the leagues, that needs to happen first, as we said before. I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to see some sort of crowds from the start of the season would be nice, wouldn't it? Even if it's a reduced capacity, it'd be great to have fans in from the start. I just can't see it happening. And even if it does, you know what's going to happen? As soon as we get in towards winter, when loads more people get flu, they'll shut it all down again and no more fans. So if that's going to be the case, then don't bother doing it at all. But
exactly, as we said, that's the case. Literally, the whole season will be behind closed doors. Then,
it probably. Let's be honest. I'm not expecting fans to be back in this season. If I'm honest, it'd be nice if they were. But I can't. At this moment in time, I can't see things changing enough, or the government's policies changing enough, and the public's confidence in it all changing enough for them to be able to do it. Really, I just can't see it. As much as I'd like it, I can't see it happening.
And also, that, as we touched on earlier, Reece, you need to go back and watch it. We did touch this earlier, and I said that in that scenario, that puts a lot of pressure then on the likes of BT, Sky, and all the broadcasters, not just in the UK but in Europe as well, and in the world, to do what they did when football came, when they brought football back for the end of last season.
Yeah,
and they broadcast every game, either free to air or whatever, but they have to cover every game. And be honest, I think they're going to have to do that.
But then they'll lose money, won't they? They'll probably lose money from that, won't they? And the clubs will lose money. The TV will lose. Everyone's going to lose money, aren't they? And as we said before, the smaller clubs are going to be even more affected. And we need to get fans back in, don't we? It needs to happen at some point. It needs to happen quickly. But will it be able to? We just don't know, do we? It's so up in the air at the minute. It's frustrating, isn't it?
In terms of them losing money, that's not the fans' fault. We can't punish the fans. We can't go. So our only source of seeing our team week in, week out, as it stands, is via them. So they have to then surely step up.
Oh yeah, I think they will. I think if fans aren't in the ground, they'll show all the games again. They'll have to, won't they? There'll be lots of more free to air games as well. I think BBC will show a few more, and I do think there'll have to be a few more. Free to air games. So maybe that might be something as well. But I don't know. We need to get fans back as quickly as we can, don't we? Let's be honest. But
in that case,
just can't see it.
And in that case, you never know. 5th of December, North London Derby could be on BBC One.
Imagine that. That'll be on Sky that all day long, won't it?
Of course, yeah, of course.
Nice on BBC One, free to air. Arsenal Tottenham, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Of course, the Sky throw money at it, BBC won't. But that is what it is.
That'll be a throwback to the old days, won't it? With Arsenal Tottenham on terrestrial TV. Do you remember that from the 1980s and that when we played them in the League Cup semi-final? They were all on BBC and that, weren't they? ITV and that.
I think
wow, that'd be nice.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even BBC when they came back and all that, like during this pandemic. The last game they showed was Arsenal versus Tottenham.
Yeah, it was in 1980. Was it 1987? Wasn't it when we beat them 2-1? Yeah, it was. That was their last game. Yeah, so it'd be a throwback to that, wouldn't it? That'd be good. I'd quite like to see that.
In response to this question, again, we have no idea. As we speak, we have no idea what's going on with the TV, like being like the matches being shown on TV or not, because they haven't said anything. They've just released the fixtures, and we've got to wait basically. By Monday, Tuesday next week, I think we'll have more idea. But ideally, with the situation we're in, I think they need to continue what they've been doing until further notice.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll have to, won't they? If they can't have fans in the ground, they're going to have to show all the games, aren't they? Because if they don't, what's going to happen? Everyone's going to get them from American TV. They're going to stream them from all over the world anyway. So they might as well just show them because that's what's going to happen.
Well, also, it's not like they can't exactly say, "Oh, we can't really do that." Well, because you did do that over a 96-day period when the return of football came back. You did that literally every other day. You were literally covering games after games after games. Like 3 months worth of games in 96 days between you, so you can do it over the space of a season.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy. I say the money involved is not going to probably be ideal, is it, for anybody? But, you know, we want fans back in the stadium as soon as we can. But if it doesn't happen, they're going to have to do it, aren't they? They can't not do it. They'll have to, I think. But like you said, there's been no announcement yet. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, we'll see what happens.
Just before you wrap things up here, the Arsenal Misfits saying that I think the kids going back to school will be the biggest problem for the league. The number of cases will go skyrocketing, and that will force the government to put more restrictions in place.
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Every time the kids go back to school, every year, from September to December, illnesses and stuff like that goes up because the kids have been off school. They go back to school. They pass stuff around each other. And that's happened every single year. This year's not going to be any different, is it? In fact, this year might be worse because kids have been separated from each other for so long. As soon as they go back to school, start mixing again, they're all going to be spreading all kinds of stuff between each other, aren't they? So inevitably, that will happen. Hopefully, the government can distinguish between what's actually a serious health condition and what is just a normal seasonal illness that's happened every single year since everybody's been around. So, but no doubt what'll happen is there'll be an overreaction. They'll whack loads more restrictions in. There'll be massive lockdowns again. And that's probably what will happen, unfortunately. That's what I can see happening. It shouldn't do, but it probably will.
I don't know what it is, or what the rules are for up where you are. But basically, down in London, it's been reported that when the kids go back to school, when they're obviously doing the school hours, like the morning and the afternoon, when the kids get on the bus, anyone that is not obviously a pupil can't get on the bus for that period. They've got to either leave at work early or work later.
Wow. Well, to be honest with you, it's going to be interesting to see what happens actually once the kids are back at school, to see what does happen in terms of spiking infections and all this kind of stuff, how the government deal with that, and how it kind of works anyway. Because I know there's a lot of teachers that don't want the kids back yet. There's a lot of parents that don't want to send their kids back yet. So it's going to be interesting to see. September, it's coming soon, isn't it? So let's see what happens, because I'm quite interested to see how it's going to work actually, because, you know, it's impossible to know, isn't it? You know, there's so many worst case scenarios that you can think of that could happen. Let's hope it doesn't happen like that, because if we get into another complete lockdown again coming into winter, it's just that's gonna kill the country completely, isn't it? Whatever businesses are left are not going to survive much longer, are they? That's unfortunately what's going to happen. But
speaking of food, I've just had a text from my medical centre, GP, whatever, saying basically I can have my free flu vaccination. Basically, I can get my vaccination now, basically, for flu.
Wow. Well, you can have mine as well, because I definitely won't be having it.
So seriously, no. But I'm saying, the last time I got text from them was saying, you're not coming into our building. No one's coming into our building.
Yeah, do not come and visit us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stay away. I don't care how ill you are. Stay away.
Yeah, and then suddenly, oh, by the way, come in for a free needle up your fucking arm.
Yeah, well, so I'll put it out there to everybody. If anybody wants my free flu vaccination, you're more than welcome to it, because I will not be having it. So it'll be going for free. You can come and get it. I don't mind. You're welcome to it.
Sam in the chat. Blame it. Oh dear.
Yeah, I blame it. I don't know about blaming Harry Potter. I blame Boris Johnson and Nick Hancock personally. But anyway. And
Theresa May before that. But anyway, the only beyond Boris, before we got things up beyond Boris Johnson, going a bit political here, but beyond Boris Johnson, as a guy during the end of the lockdown, he started easing things off, having to go at people for being overweight, not eating healthily. When the only place that people could eat, they couldn't get food. Especially at the start of the lockdown, when we couldn't get food orders in from the local supermarkets or whatever, the source was takeaway. Having to go, get out, do this, do that, I'm going to increase you to go out as long as you want now for exercise. And then that's all that. And now what is it for the last month? We've had this eat out, help out bollocks.
50% off, yeah. So literally, you can't get a seat in McDonald's or KFC, the nice healthy food stuff, because literally there's queues and queues of people waiting to get their 50% off. I mean, we was going to go to Nando's actually the other week, and it was like about a 4-hour wait. You're all right, no thanks.
It's like, yeah, exactly. But I'm saying it's like the contradictory of saying you're eating crap. Yeah,
and then they encourage you to eat crap for a month.
Yeah.
Brilliant, yeah, I know. But then Boris Johnson doesn't look the healthiest person in the world, does he? So anyway,
it's just a complete contradictory. It's just like talk about it does, and then again, it was completely criticised throughout the whole lockdown, and correctly so, for sending the consonant mixed messages in one fucking thing alone. It was like go out, don't go out, go to work, don't go to work. Like,
go to work if you can. If you can't go to work, don't go to work. All right then.
Talk about sending the fucking wrong signals out. Just be precise and clear with your message.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's half the problem there, that people just are so sick and tired of the rubbish that they've come out with from the start. It's like, why should, also as well, why do we believe anything they say? When was the last time a government were honest about anything? They never have been in my whole life. So I don't assume that they're being honest about this now. I never have done.
I know.
But anyway.
Literally over 10 years currently of Tory government, Tories in power. And then before, they obviously had Labour for a few years and this, that, and the other. But whenever the Tories were all parties are bad at each other, by the way, in government.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
But whenever the Tories are in power, it seems to go tenfold to what you normally have under a Labour or any other sort of government. They sort of hold our beer sort of situation will make things 10 times worse. You think they were bad? Look at us.
To be honest with you, I've almost now. I've given up basically with the system anyway, but I have voted the last couple of times, and I'm not going to ever vote again because honestly, I don't trust any of them to do anything that they should do. They're just in it for themselves. They're just in it for what they make out of it. They're all taking backhanders right, left, and centre, and it's just a joke. They don't care about the people. They don't care about us. None of this has been about saving our health. It's all been about the fact they underfunded the NHS all them times. They were worried that the NHS would be able to cope. That's all it's ever been about. They don't care if we get ill or not. They're not bothered in the slightest.
Even
I'm thinking of it now, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm never voting again for any of them. Not once. What I want to do now, I want to get myself taken off the voting register because I'm not interested in any of it.
But even the irony behind all this, in that the NHS being driven to the knees in the early stages of this lockdown, literally understaffed because they didn't have the staff to cope with during lockdown in the initial few months of what was coming at them every day. And people would certain members of staff died because of it, because literally they were then contracting the virus because they were gone overwork, obviously put more hours in to help out because there's not the staff there. They're contracting it, they die from it. But amongst all this, before that, obviously there was a vote back in, I think it was before Boris came in, about having the nurses in particular having their money raised, their salary raised. And the Tories won the vote basically because they literally cheered like, "Where we won the vote!" And they're not giving the peasants more money.
I know.
And amongst all this, nurses saved their fearless leader, and he was on death's door. He was on death's door, and they saved his life. And even now,
they say
when they're asked,
death's door. They say he was on death's door.
When asked about. Obviously, they've done fantastic jobs and all that. Are you going to help? Are you now going to go back, have a chat with your people, and actually reward these people and give them the money they deserve and give them the salary? And the responses are, they are the money they deserve because they've got this thing in place, this cap thing in place. Well, clearly it's not because they're living hand to mouth. Seriously, step up. These are the people that fucking stepped up for you and you needed them most, and for the country. Reward them for what they are. You're multi-billionaires, and yet these same multi-billionaires are on the attack of other multi-billionaires that play football, kick a ball about.
I know, yeah.
It's behind it all. It just does my head.
It's crazy.
Marcus Rashford, who's 23, 24, did more for the country than what the fucking government done.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, how they were not prepared to do it, the free school meals thing, was it, until Marcus Rashford happened to mention it. And then suddenly, we'll do it now then. It's like, well, come on, Marcus Rashford. Look, if you're listening to this, Marcus Rashford, start telling the government to do other stuff that we need. Get rid of people wearing stupid masks, open everything up again, get everybody back to work. And then if Marcus Rashford says it, maybe Boris Johnson will listen to him because he's not listening to anybody else, apart from Matt Hancock.
And Dominic, don't forget Dominic, Mr. Cummings.
Well, Dominic basically writes everything down for him, doesn't he? So he doesn't forget what to say.
when Dominic breaks the rules, it's okay, apparently.
Well, of course he is, because without Dominic, he hasn't got a clue, has he? Boris, let's face it, he hasn't got a clue about anything, has he? He doesn't know what day it is unless Dominic tells him. What day is it, Dominic? He rings him in the morning. What day is it today, Dominic? It's Thursday today. Oh, right, okay, it's Thursday. Good. What's the weather like, Dominic? Oh, it's sunny today, but it might rain tomorrow. All right, thanks, Dominic.
Do you need a haircut? No.
What's for dinner, Dominic?
Oh my days! It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. But it is what it is.
I mean, they're going to bring the spitting image back, aren't they? And if I was doing a spitting image with Boris Johnson, that's exactly what I would do. I'd have him on the phone to Dominic Cummings every single minute of every day. What we're doing now, Dominic?
Have you not seen have you not seen the pictures though? Of obviously the characters.
Yeah.
Like, Dominic, fuck me, scares the shit out of me. It's Dracula to a T, literally to the cat. Obviously got the costume up.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I can't wait to see that. Actually, that would be funny.
And that's the one again because I obviously brought that back and I talked to my mum about all that. Obviously bringing it back, and obviously the last time they had that around was in Maggie Thatcher's time. Yeah, that's the one thing that they couldn't stand every Sunday at a certain time, bang, and it would always be obviously from that week to week, what's gone on that week, sort of thing. So imagine what happened then. Compared to now, bloody hell.
I know, yeah. Spitting Image should have brought Spitting Image back about 10 years ago and just kept it going because it's just absolutely brilliant. And they've got so much good stuff to go off now as well, haven't they? Tinfoil hat. It's not tinfoil hat when it's true, though, is it? It's not a conspiracy when it's true. That's the problem.
Yeah. The
real tin hat people are the ones wearing the masks that believe that's actually saving their life. They should be wearing tin hats, them weirdos. Nobody else.
Also, we're living... Unlike Sam, you're living in awe. You're safe in some respects compared to you because you're not going to deal with the UK government week in, week out. We have to live with it 24/7. Fucking poor fuckers we are.
Yeah.
At least you get away from it. Some respect.
The thing was, right, I've been thinking quite a lot recently, right, about this country just is I feel like it's the worst country in the world to be living in at the minute, right? But then you look at the rest of the world, you think the rest of the world's in exactly the same position that we're in. Moving abroad isn't going to solve the problems, is it? Because it's just as bad everywhere else. Australia's even worse, actually. You always thought Australia's a great place to live. Well, look what's going on there. It's even worse than here, I think, at the minute. It's got all these countries that you'd think, oh, that'd be a nice place to live. At the minute, they wouldn't be. We might as well just stay here and brave it out and get our tinfoil hats back on and stuff like that. and wait till it go to the Winchester and wait till it blows over.
Yeah, I'm about to say that. Have a fight, wait for it all to blow over. Oh.
Yeah, that's where I might go now, actually, for the rest of the day. Sitting in the Winchester.
But yeah, go wrap things up now. Richard, where can people find you?
Yeah, I've got a new channel on YouTube over and over and over again. I've been sort of doing last few weeks, really. I've set it up. I've got a live show tonight, actually, with former Arsenal player Mark Flats as well, which could be quite good. So if you're not doing anything at 7 o'clock, everyone, switch over to over and over and over again on YouTube. It's going live at 7 o'clock with Mark Flats, so that's going to be good. I've been doing a few videos on there, just something a bit different, really. I'm trying to steer away from transfer rumours because they do me head in. And I'm trying to maybe do a few profiles on things from the past in the club's history as well. And obviously, once the matches start, I'll be doing some stuff on sort of matches as well and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to steer away from all this COVID stuff as well because it just does me head in and it gets me a break. That's why I set up the YouTube channel, really, just so I can spend an hour a day talking about something else, talking about football and Arsenal and stuff I enjoy, as opposed to worrying about what's going to happen if I go out shopping, if I might die if I'm going to Sainsbury's or something. So yeah, over and over and over again. If everyone's free at 7 o'clock tonight, have a look over there, and I'll be chatting to Mark Flats. So there'll be a few Arsenal fans probably remember him from the early 90s. He didn't play many games, unfortunately, but he certainly played more games for Arsenal than most of us have. So I'm looking forward to that. Actually, it'd be good.
Okay, and obviously you can find me on the Facebook page, Mr. Arsenal Podcast, which I'm streaming off now, along with Football Fan Zone. Another football Facebook page I'm streaming off, and here, and obviously on Twitter, at Mr. Arsenal 89. And yeah, I'm going to wrap things up now. If you haven't subscribed already and you're seeing this brand new, do subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button as well. And next thing you'll see me is on Sunday for the quiz, 6 p.m.
Oh, the quiz, yes, indeed.
Yeah. No Kenny came, but don't worry, Mike's pulled some corkers out the bag for guests, so.
Has he? Oh, good. Yeah. Good competition, hopefully. Look forward to that.
So, yeah, stay tuned for the new guests, and obviously Lee Judges he's confirmed he's doing it as well. So, all guests will be confirmed on Sunday morning. And I'll put a tweet out. So, yeah, follow us on that. And then, yeah, until then, enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend. And as always, up the Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners.